Hi, this is Mrs. Kidman, and in this video, we're going to be discussing how we can solve systems of equations, nonlinear equations, so a line and a quadratic, things like that, using elimination. So in this case, we've got a quadratic and a linear function, and we're going to solve them by elimination. So what elimination means is I'm going to take my two equations and I'm going to eliminate common terms that they might have so that it simplifies into one equation. So let's take a look here. The way we're going to do this is always by writing our longer equation first. So y equals x squared minus 3x minus 2. And then I'm going to do y equals negative 3x. I'm going to line up underneath plus 8. Now, eliminate means get rid of. And when we think of getting rid of something, I think of subtracting. So when we use elimination, what we're going to do is we're going to take our first one and subtract our second one from it. So I'm going to subtract this right here. And we're going to subtract every piece. So first I'm going to start with my y's. Y minus y is 0. And then we'll start with our next piece. X squared minus nothing. Well, that's x squared. Negative 3x minus negative 3x. Well, that's 0x. And negative 2 minus 8 is going to give us a negative 10. So then what we end up seeing here as we proceed to move forward is we end up getting x squared plus 0x minus 10. Now this plus 0x we can kind of disappear and not write. Now notice how it has two terms. When there are two terms, to solve by elimination, we still need to solve for x here. Now to solve for x when there are two terms like this, where we have an x squared and a constant, we want to solve using the square root method. So I'm going to add 10 to both sides. And I'm going to end up getting x squared equals 10. And then I can square root both sides of that, and I will get x equals the square root of 10. We can either leave it as the square root of 10, or some people like to switch it to a decimal, which is going to be, I'm going to round this to the nearest hundredth, and it's going to end up being 3. Let's see if my pen will work for me. 3.16. Fantastic. So that is what our x value is. Now, once we have our x value, what we need to do is we need to take that x value and plug it back into one of our equations to solve for it, just like we did with substitution. So I'm going to use our second one here. But remember, when it's a square root, that means it's going to be the positive and negative version of that. So our two options here are negative 3.16, comma something, and positive 3.16, comma something. Now, as we have both of those, we will substitute them in, and I'm going to use a calculator for this. So negative 3 times negative 3.16 is going to give us a 9.48, and then we add 8 to that, and we end up getting 17.48. So that's our first point. Then our other point is going to be 3.16 times negative 3, which is going to be negative 9.48, and then if we add 8 to that, we end up getting negative 1.48. So those are the two places where these lines will cross one another. Now, that is how we solve with elimination. Again, we're going to stack them on top of each other, subtract them or eliminate them, and get rid of what's in common, so we can combine them to one equation. So let's do a couple more examples like this. Let's look at this first one here. So I'm going to stack them on top of each other. Y equals x squared plus x, and y equals x plus 9. Notice how I stacked the ones that were similar. Now we're going to subtract these two. Y minus y is 0. X squared minus 0 is x squared. X minus x is 0. And nothing minus 9 is negative 9. Now we can move this to the other side, and we end up getting 9 equals x squared. And then as I square root it, as we saw in the previous problem, I get x equals 3 and x equals negative 3. So to find our system of equations, we have our 2 points, 3 comma something and negative 3 comma something. Now let's plug those in. So if I put 3 into this one, I get 3 plus 9, which is 12. And then I put negative 3 into this one as well, and I end up getting 6. And that is the solution to these two systems using elimination. Now, I want you to go ahead and try this next one on your own. Again, we're going to stack them on top of each other with the like terms stacked with one another. So the x squared stacked together, the x's stacked together, the constant stacked together. Then we're going to subtract them. So subtract the top minus the bottom, and then we're going to have one equation there that we can use to solve. Now, when you finish doing this, unpause your video and we can check it together. Okay, so as we go through this problem and solve using elimination, you can see we eliminated our things. We ended up getting 0 equals x squared plus 3x minus 2. And then I chose to complete the square for this, or to use the quadratic formula for this one. So as I run through the quadratic formula here, I ended up getting x equals about 0.4 and negative 0.74. So then I took those values and I plugged them back into this equation here, and I ended up getting 0.4 comma negative 2 and negative 0.74 comma 7.4. So that is how we're going to do it with elimination. Let's look over this last one all together one last time. So again, we're going to line those up. So y equals negative 3x squared plus x minus 4, and then we get our 2x plus 5 down on the bottom, and we end up getting, and this is equal to y. So then as we eliminate or subtract these, we get 0 equals negative 3x squared minus x minus 9. And then we can solve this one. I'm going to use the quadratic formula again. So a equals negative 3, b equals negative 1, c equals negative 9. So then when we find that discriminant, or b squared minus 4ac, we get 1 minus 4 times negative 3 times negative 9. 1 minus 1 times 4 times negative 3 times negative 9 is going to be 108. So we get 1 minus 108, which equals negative 107. And again, if our discriminant is negative, then we know that there are no real solutions and these do not intersect at all. So that is how we would solve a system of equations through elimination. Please feel free to check out the previous 2 videos in which we discussed how we can solve a system of equations through graphing or through substitution.